Hi everyone, this is video number 2 of the Crew Motorfest using a Fanatec CSL Direct Drive wheel right here, and I have been learning a bit about this game, and the wheel transition or using the wheel on this game has been an interesting experience. So we're going to drive around a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit of drifting, a little bit of settings, so let's get into it. So I have a lot of thoughts to share about Crew Motorfest. This has been a pretty cool game overall, but there's been a few hiccups that I wanted to talk about in the video. So the game is overall a pretty fun game, but like right now is one of the gripes that I have with it. Like I didn't hear the car at all. You know, the sound effects of the car is just not, they're very underwhelming. The cars just don't sound, like they have a good sound note to them, but they don't sound loud enough. The daytime graphics look really good. Everything looks beautiful and bright and super cool, but the nighttime gets really dark, which I don't understand. The nighttime is so dark. You can't see anything. The car's lights are just not good enough. I can obviously up my brightness on the screen, but when I calibrated my screen to begin with, when it, asks you, turn the setting down or up until you can see the logo or barely see the logo, the settings that I'm talking about. Well, I did them and I kept things bright on those settings on purpose, and still it is not very bright.
They say the volcano's activity is the same as her temper. Sometimes calm, sometimes explosive. You're driving.
So the darkness definitely an issue, and I'm always just forgetting. I think that's just not used to it from playing Forza or BeamNG or a lot of the other semi-simulation car games. You don't have nitro, and in this game I keep on forgetting that I have it, and I'm like trying to win races without ever using nitro. Obviously inadvertently, that's not what I want to do, but I just forget that I have that option. And the cars just look awesome in this game in terms of just the crazy graphics and the skins and the colors and the paint jobs. Everything just looks super cool, and the options to customize, to put lights underneath the car, stuff like that is just super fun in this game. I'm looking forward to doing more and more of that as I unlock more of those options for certain cars. Right now, I don't have a lot of those options, but when I do unlock a new car and that has like a dragon on it or something, that's just super cool. It looks cool. Makes it very, I guess fake in a way and arcadey, but makes it fun. I like that. Where's this first place car? Like, they smoked us. In Forza Horizon 5, they do a pretty good job of, I guess, intentionally making sure that you can't really do shortcuts and stuff in the races, but in this game, shortcuts are encouraged. It feels like there's like definitely spots in the course during a race that you can just take a shortcut and kind of catch up, which is cool. I'm just not used to it. I see like the AI cars do it, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm ahead, but now they're ahead. In race mode, the steering wheel works real fine. There's no issues whatsoever. Driving is pretty fun with the steering wheel. Feels tight, feels good. Doesn't feel as tuned as I find the force feedback to be in Forza Horizon 5. This feels a little bit less finessed, but it works real well. So that's that. But definitely Forza takes the trophy in that one too, for me.
Smile.
So there you have it,
I'm a fan
second
of the
place.
volcano one.
I have no idea where the first place guy was. So racing with a steering wheel is pretty fun. The handling and the responsiveness, the vehicle moves pretty well, and I find that at the current difficulty that I have, I think I'm at like the medium difficulty or something, and in this difficulty it feels like it's pretty good. Now let's talk about some of the issues that I've been having with this game. On the PC, obviously the experience is a little bit different, and one of the big issues that I'm having is, or I was having, and I was able to eventually fix it, was the graphics. So this seems to be, and like this is the other issue, by the way, just like figuring out how to drift in this game is pretty annoying with the wheel. With the steering, with the controller, it was actually fine. It was okay. But with the steering wheel, the drifting is no fun so far. I just haven't figured it out. It seems to be a very steep learning curve with drifting in this game compared to Forza Horizon 5, especially with the steering wheel. So we'll get more on. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about this graphics issue on the PC. So I got an update because I have an AMD graphics card, and that graphics card's most recent update kind of broke this game. Alright, so it wasn't the game, it was my graphics card and the update that came with it. It really messed everything up. What was happening was, you see the puddles on the road right now. These puddles would be super bright and glary, like you couldn't see anything. And as you progressed in the game, as you drove around a bit more, it got worse and worse. Alright, so that's what was happening. I couldn't see anything. I would have to turn it off. I tried so many things. There are some videos about some graphics related issues in this game when it comes to PC version of the game. And I tried a bunch of those things. I tried to like create a variable and blah blah blah. There were like so many videos about a couple of different ways to solve graphics related issues, but none of them were working. So adding the variable didn't work. Some people were talking about deleting OBS, which is a software a lot of us use making content and recording our screens while gaming. Some people said delete that and it'll be fixed, and it apparently worked for a lot of people, and the graphics got better right away. There was another application that some people were mentioning. If you have that, delete that, it'll fix everything, and apparently that works for a lot of people too. But for me, none of those things either applied or they just didn't work. So I was really frustrated and I couldn't really play the game very much. Again, it's not Crew Motorfest's fault. It turned out to be the graphics card update problem. So finally on Reddit, I saw somebody's thread talking about how they experienced the same exact issues of just like super bright spots and reflections all around the game, and just it's becoming impossible to drive around. So I then figured out and learned from these Reddit posts that you would have to just run back your most recent update on the graphics card. So if anybody else is experiencing such an issue, that's your solution, because that's what worked for me also. So I brought my AMD Adrenaline, update back to like 24.8. 24.9 was the problem. 24.8 worked for me, and now I'm back to normal, good-looking graphics. So that really soured a lot of my experience, and the sad thing is it wasn't really the game, it was the graphics card. So I know it's not Crew Motorfest's fault, but still for me it kind of like really made me not want to play the game very often. So now I'm back at it, and really I would say I've probably played like 5 or 6 days worth, an hour each, a couple hours at most probably on this game, a couple of nights a week. And based on that, the regular driving is cool, but now we get to talk about our second issue, which you can see in my steering. I can't get this car to drift. I can't control the car when it's drifting. It's like super annoying. So the way the drifting works in this game is you just like, it seems like you just turn and floor the throttle and you let it drift. You take your foot off the gas and you let it drift and you try to steer it around the bend. All right, so it's like this. It's just drifting on its own. I'm not doing anything with the throttle, and now near the end of it I can start using the throttle to control it again. So given the settings that I have, that's the kind of drifting I've been able to do, and it's very lame. It's not fun. It's like, you know, I can't really do anything. So like it just drifts on its own when that happens, and I just have to learn to kind of like, you know, get the car back into a straight position and take off from there, which, you know, in an arcade, I guess that's how a lot of the arcade games work. But like as soon as the car starts swirling around, there's no way to control it, and the steering wheel just goes crazy and you just don't feel anything. So I've been looking for a lot of different settings, trying to figure out what to do, how to learn to drift in this game. I have not had any success. The most I've been able to do is what I've just showed you a couple of times, is that I come around a bend, I, you know, floor the throttle and turn the wheel and drift for a little bit, and I just try to bring it back, straighten it out. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. There are pro settings, so now I can share with you what are some of the settings that I've tried to change. You know, there's also not a lot of content out there on YouTube about the settings for this game when you're playing with the wheel and you're trying to drift. So hopefully that'll change as the game becomes more and more popular on the PC. Maybe more people will make that sort of content. I'm certainly interested in doing that because I'm certainly interested in learning how to drift better in this game. I've definitely seen a lot of content creators who are drifting, but their settings that they mention, they're just not, I don't know, it just defeats logic. I guess the way the game's physics is, I'm just not getting used to that probably. But regular driving works fine, so I'm still gonna play the game. I'm still gonna try to, you know, beat some of the races, do some of those playlists that they keep talking about. But the drifting scene is definitely off for me right now, especially coming from Forza, where I obviously spend a lot of time learning how to drift in that game using a wheel, and, you know, kind of got used to it and kind of learned how to do it pretty well. And now coming to this game, trying to learn it all over again has been really frustrating, and it has not been easy at all. So if you got some tips, if you got some ideas, put them in the comments, because I am interested in figuring that out. There you go. So there's a couple of moments like that where I'm like, I get it right, but most of the time I'm just not getting it right. And I'm very sure that all of this has to do with the settings, because that's what's happened in every car game that I've played, that I've tried to drift in, whether it's Assetto Corsa, which I don't really like that game very much, because of all the hassle you have to go through to kind of get it to work the right way and all that. But in Assetto Corsa, in BeamNG, in Forza Horizon 5, in all of these games, the drifting hasn't been about the skill, it has been about the settings. So I'm assuming that that's what's happening here too. Clearly, I think if we get the settings right, the skills come a little bit more easily, because you finally figure things out and things are consistent. So when the game behaves consistently, it's less of an issue, right? And you can learn a little bit more easily. But right now it feels like the game is not behaving consistently, and every car is different, obviously, with different settings. So, oh man, the drifting is so frustrating in this game. So whoever knows how to do it, let me know in the comments. I'm willing to try. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Meanwhile, let's take a look at my settings for this car. So first, these are the parts that I have, and yes, I've heard that you have to get your parts up to like 600 level, performance level, and then things get better. Maybe they will, we'll see. I noted in some videos people said that you should keep stock tires if you're interested in drifting, and everything else you max out as much as you can, and that's what I've been trying to do with this car. So let's look at the other settings that also play a role, such as the pro settings and then the force feedback settings. Okay, so these are the pro settings that I have right now. Front grip, brought that down, brought down the rear grip. Probably can bring this down even more because the car keeps on wanting to straighten itself out. Maybe it's the grip. So I'll try to bring it down even further. Brake balance haven't touched. That's what it was. Aero haven't touched. Suspension, you know, coming from other games, the rule of thumb, I should say, was always to keep the front softer than the rear. But I don't know if that really applies in this game. I have to be honest. It's like, it feels like the opposite is true in this game. But here's what I have. I have negative 10% and then negative 20% in the rear. Same thing with damper. I went with negative 10, negative 20 for most things. Yeah, this is supposed to be negative 10 also. So that's been my general formula, just keeping the front a little bit stiffer, because when I tried the other way, when I made the front softer and the rear stiffer, the same thing was happening. It was like, is anything changing? Because I'm changing these settings and I feel like I'm not feeling the difference. In Forza, you can do like a tenth of a point. You know, you can adjust and you feel a difference. Like with force feedback, for example, in Forza, you go from 0.5 to 0.6. It's a massive difference. Like, you feel it right away. So, but in this game, I haven't been able to even tell the difference. So I'm kind of like just blindly tweaking things up and down and trying to land somewhere. I did try to copy a bunch of people's settings also from YouTube or whatever, and those didn't work either. So then I was like, let me just try my own, common sense or whatever I know, whatever little I know, and try to go by that. So this is where we're at. Now, the other set of settings everybody says we should change or have are these ones down here under global: ABS on, traction control off, ESP off, drift assist at comfort. To be honest with you, again, when I had it on sport versus comfort, couldn't tell the difference really. Counter steering assist is off. Airplane handling is obviously, that doesn't matter. And then we come to the wheel control, and this is where we adjust the force feedback. This force feedback is down to 35, dampers at 60. This I also got from another creator's video. They were saying that these numbers are great for drifting, so I put those on. Vibration is down because it does shake a lot, this steering. That's a difference you can tell when you bring this up. This is the current gearbox I have, so that really doesn't mean anything. The range is there. The presets default, everything else is the same. And I have to say, these settings, as far as the force feedback and the wheel's resistance and stuff are concerned, those things feel right now. So I think really where I'm struggling right now is figuring out what are the right pro settings for each vehicle that'll get me drifting. I feel like the force feedback is good, but that one felt better. Did a little bit of a drift there. Okay, that already feels better. I think it does feel better. You have less control, but the car drifts. The car doesn't like straighten itself out so quickly and abruptly. So dropping those numbers down has definitely helped compared to what I had before. Okay, a little bit better for sure. All right, we got this. We got this. Okay. After all that complaining, I feel like now I'm kind of getting a hang of it. I think I should have made this video sooner, and I could have improved my drifting in this game a little bit sooner. So that tire grip really did make a difference right now, I have to say. That very fast like reaction time of the car and its wobbliness is going, you know, the tailspin kind of going back and forth during transitions, that has been reduced significantly. So that's cool. And I definitely have to say, guys, this game has much better traffic than Forza. Forza's traffic sucks. Everybody knows that. Speaking of which, bomb. Okay, and the other thing I noticed with traffic is that the variety of cars that they send at you when you're just driving around randomly is super cool. This is how it's supposed to be. Forza can't get this right for some reason. Every iteration of the game is like the same problem. Right, you see the same cars over and over again. Here I'm seeing a limo, there I'm seeing a taxi. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. Make it look more realistic and natural. The traffic in this game is so much better, like miles ahead of Forza Horizon 5. But I guess that's also a very low bar to cross anyway, because Forza is just infamously terrible and in terms of traffic. So this game gets that right in my book. I think once again in my Forza Horizon wishlist video, I had shared that we need to be able to turn traffic up and down. We need to be able to tweak some of that traffic, right? And that is something that this game also doesn't have, and I think it would be really nice to have. We should be able to turn up the amount of traffic we want. So there you have it. Let me know what you think about this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.